I am pro-divorce. Throw away because this may not make me popular, even in pro-vengeance. This all occurred to me a few years back. I informed a buddy about my divorce and was advised to share. Began a few years ago. I assumed we were happy. We were the ordinary suburban professional couple. Financially stable, healthy, with a pleasant romantic life, and 2 children, 14 females and 9 males at the time. I felt we led a good social life. We were going through one of those usual married couple tough patches. We both worked long hours and didn't spend enough time together. We were having some developmental issues with my son, and tensions in the family were running high. I saw she was spending a lot more time on her phone, messaging with her buddies. I didn't think much about it. I began making a serious effort to get out of work when possible, assist around the home, and be more emotionally accessible, but the gap only widened over the course of a few weeks. I ended up unintentionally discovering some texts. When I charged an old iPad for my son to use, her Facebook Messenger was still on, and there were several really suspicious chats with a gentleman from her hometown, whom I'll refer to as Jim Bob Cowder, or JBC for short. The messages weren't wholly improper, but I could tell there were a lot of missing ones based on the times and context. I made a mental note to keep an eye on it, and set about attempting to patch things up. The next day, after taking the day off to complete some projects that I felt would make her happy, I left her some nice notes reminding her of how much I valued her. She was once again in the corner of the living room, messaging her buddies. I brought the boy's iPad to the office, launched Facebook Messenger, and watched in real time as my wife ripped me apart. She and JBC were making fun of me. All the weaknesses, fears, and secrets I'd confided in my spouse were now fuel for her and JBC. Furthermore, while there was explicit erotic messaging, the entire chat had a romantic undertone, especially when she was criticizing my performance in the sack. I was able to get some screenshots, but I missed a significant number of messages since she kept erasing them as the conversation progressed. I wasn't emotionally prepared to approach her. I waited in the office till she fell asleep and had a few beers. I took the next day off to reflect, drink, and figure out what to do. When my wife arrived home and asked what was wrong, I simply coped and said I had a hard day. A few minutes later, I was watching the iPad while the train wreck continued to unfold. So started a few weeks of screenshotting, drinking, and distancing myself from the connection. I knew there was no going back. The texts were now obviously romantic, with my wife fully invested, and JBC was tossing in I love yous. I hired a lawyer, learnt my alternatives, and began pushing ahead. This is where things became really bizarre. Watching the messages, I saw that JBC was coming to town to spend a weekend with my wife at a good hotel. I was lacking a lot of information. They must have had a phone call about it at some point, but I was able to infer enough to figure out when and where. Shuru's faces the next day. My wife is buttering me up and wants to go on a spa weekend with the girls to unwind, so when she returns, she can really focus on our marriage. I'm with her all the way. It's the best idea she's ever had, and I'll do everything to get us back on track. I meet with the lawyer and have him create a firm separation agreement indicating that she would move out and have weekend visitation. There will be no child support until the divorce is finalized, at which point I will face the most agonizing 2 weeks of my life. After all of this, most of my feelings for her are gone, and I'm filled with rage like I've never felt before. D-Day comes. I take the day off work. I remove half of whatever money and accounts we are linked to, leaving her half alone. I'd previously moved my paycheck to a different bank. I terminate our money market account, receive a cashier's check for her half, and transfer my part into a new account. I go to Office Max and print around 75 pages of Facebook Messenger screenshots, then delete time since I don't want to be at home. She texts me saying she's leaving and that she loves me. I tell her to have fun. I arrive at the hotel about 8:30 p.m. and ring the wife's phone from the lobby. It goes directly to voicemail. They are probably already doing it. Whatever. I approach the front desk and ask if I may use the phone to connect to JBC's room. It rings 3 times before he picks up. JBC. Hello? JBC, could you kindly send my wife down to the lobby? JBC, I am not sure what you are talking about, dude. Okay, I guess I'll have to contact Mrs. JBC and bring her down here. I just knew he was married and her first name. JBC inaudible. Shuffling fright. You've got 5 minutes, so click. Not even 2 minutes later, my wife emerges from the lift, a little embarrassed. I set her down in the lobby's corner. Her begins spewing nonsense about how things aren't as they appear, and so on. I'm not here to debate. What is happening is described in this stack of documents. The only way I won't provide a copy of this to our kid, your parents, and send it to everyone we know is if you leave immediately. Wife was quite proud. Daughter was going through a rebellious, adolescent phase and knowing would most likely have ended their relationship. Wife was also her parents' golden child, and she was always concerned about their opinion of her. I didn't have much leverage, so humiliation was my only option. Also, her work life revolves around her image, which I knew she would preserve at all costs. Her, sniffle, mumble, inaudible, me. This is a check for half the balance in the money market account. I've withdrew half of the funds from all other joint accounts. You should have more than enough to get a slot. She begins crying a little. I could practically feel the various thoughts and emotions coursing through her. But now is the moment to keep pressing. Me. Given the circumstances, I believe this separation arrangement is more than fair. I'll need you to review this, sign it, and leave it at the home when you receive your belongings. Would you want to glance over these screenshots? Her. No. Me. Okay, go have fun with JBC. Do not return to the house or I will mail this. Holds up Rima screenshots. To everyone. I bounce out of the foyer, and I can hear her having a breakdown. I get into my car, drive to a parking lot, and have my own weeping fury tantrum. Previously, I would have sobbed and shouted in front of her, but I was able to keep my crap together enough to pull it off. I'm not sure what she did that night or during the weekend. She texted and called often, wanting to chat. I immediately switched off the phone, and by Monday afternoon there were movers collecting her belongings and she had given the agreement. I let her have a conversation with the kids, basically stating that mommy and daddy spent some time away but we still love you, etc. Standard divorce language. After a week, she wants to have a genuine conversation for the first time. I lied to her since I already had my faces together and knew exactly what I wanted, but I should have listened to her. She's very apologetic. She wants another opportunity. She wants her family back. She will do anything. She's on her knees, weeping into my lap. I have no intention of ever reclaiming her. I tell her she has to schedule marital counseling on her own at a time that is convenient for me. I tell her that I can't live with her, but she should spend time with the kids to maintain their bond. She establishes a new routine of going over to the house, cooking and eating supper with the kids 3 evenings a week. She always saves me a dish. I made myself scarce. She cleans the home and does the kids' laundry before returning to her place. We went to counseling. It consisted of her working through her difficulties with the therapist, attempting to find out why she did it, pleading for forgiveness, and me stoically playing the victim. I was not going to give her another opportunity. All I wanted to do was remove time, establish myself as the major carer for the children, and make it clear that she did not live in the house. After a few months, I see my own therapist and am diagnosed with melancholy and PTSD. I ask my boss if I may work part-time for the foreseeable future. And it's no problem. After 6 months of treatment, I informed her that I couldn't forgive her right now and that I wanted an unresolvable divorce, but she is still the love of my life, and perhaps we might try again someday. She was upset, but consented to the divorce as long as I vowed to try again later. After the divorce was filed, I needed the children to want to stay with me. I left a Google search for how to survive your wife's infidelity on the shared PC at home, as well as some printed infidelity literature in the kitchen. Not so. Sealed. My daughter found them and came to me in tears. I told her she wasn't intended to discover those, that her mother made a mistake, that she still loved her, and that I would always be there for her. My daughter, who used to hold my wife in great esteem, would no longer speak to her without shouting, which destroyed her. Not unexpectedly, when the courts requested statements from the children a few months later, little brother followed big sister's lead and wished to stay with dad in the house where they grew up. When the divorce was finalized, I received the house. I had to buy out part of her equity, but that was fine. I obtained primary custody of the children. Because of the disparity in our wages as a result of my part-time job, I received hefty child support payments. Now, for the last 2 years, I've been able to live in the house with my kids, work part-time, get the NowX to subsidize it for me, and have fun with Tinderellas and some FBWs I've nurtured. My children see me as the patron saint of parenthood because I always take the high road and am available. In my ex's view, I'm the one who got away, and she'll always miss me. And I have the added benefit of having her come over for a romance whenever I want by dangling the carrot of perhaps getting back together. But it will never happen. It was too long, and I did not read it. We divorced, and everything worked out. Hello, people. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It would really benefit me. Thanks. This is ruthless, efficient, cold, calculated, and really remarkable. If this isn't pro-revenge, nothing is. Very calculated. I believe the amount of manipulation will ruffle more than a few feathers. However, practically, this is likely the best conclusion. Your ex cheated, and the relationship with your daughter had already ended. If you had challenged her, you would still be getting divorced since you couldn't trust her again after the falsehoods. The only one who suffers here is your wife. I believe you made the wise decision to maximize your personal pleasure. The children would have suffered far more under 2 unhappy parents than they would under the current arrangement. Pro-revenge indeed. Damn. While I disagree with some of these points, This was still pro-revenge. Finally, I hope your children are the happiest they have ever been, since that is what matters. You are all ignoring the true victims. The unfortunate hotel personnel had to smile, be professional, and provide comfort and support to a cheating husband once more. Just another shift, another antidote for new employees. Very savage. I can't stop smiling. This is the finest thing I have read in a long time. I never want to play you at chess. The way everything came together in the end, with the child support from working part-time, was fantastic. It's undoubtedly pro, but the optimism you offer her is cold and harsh. Good luck with your new life, it seems like you've earned it.